highlight every season is the shirt, and this year's design is a nod to the national champions of 1924, specifically the Four Horsemen. While today's students and fans wear this image on their shirts, very few may actually know the complete details behind it. It was a publicity stunt that caught on, thanks to great writing, clever thinking, and an Irish win over Army, led by 4 key players.
There were 4 incredible athletes playing for a coach who envisioned how they could work together and be nearly unstoppable.
In his book, Loyal Sons, Jim Lefebvre details the ride of the Four Horsemen and the 1924 team that won Notre Dame's first national title.
Little Harry Stuhldreher at quarterback, 5'8", 142 pounds, dripping wet. It's almost inconceivable today that this guy could be quarterback in a major college football team, but he was.
His halfbacks, Don Miller from Defiance, Ohio, and Jim Crowley from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Elmer Layden from Davenport, Iowa, was the fullback.
They're situated that any one of the 4 of them can take the snap from center. So it creates a dizzying array of possibilities. And in fact, it wasn't always the quarterback who threw the pass. Crowley or Miller could be easily the passer.
This combination destroyed opponents and earned that iconic nickname. So where did it come from?
So George Strickler was a student at the university. He was a sophomore, and Rockne had appointed him as his student publicity aide long before the days of sports information departments or anything else like that.
Strickler hung out with the national press, and at the Army game, he spoke up in the press box.
It was his suggestion at halftime of the Army game that the Notre Dame backfield resembled the Four Horsemen.
In reference to a popular Rudolph Valentino movie called The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
That's what planted the seed for Grantland Rice, one of these national writers, to write his story outlined against the blue-gray October sky.
Grantland Rice's story appeared on the front page of the Sunday edition of the New York Herald Tribune. The first few lines launching the Four Horsemen into Irish icons for eternity. Here's our George Mallet.
Outlined against a blue-gray October sky, the Four Horsemen rode again. In dramatic lore, they are known as famine, pestilence, destruction, and death. These are only aliases. Their real names are Stuhldreher, Miller, Crowley, and Layden.
When the boys got home to South Bend, George Strickler went to work, finding 4 horses and a photographer to take this famous photo.
Over the course of time, this photo is appearing in papers across the country. The nickname is sticking. And then, of course, the famous story goes, a newspaper reporter in one town that Notre Dame was playing in knocked on the door at the hotel and said, "Is this where I can find the Four Horsemen?" And it was one of the linemen, and he just shrugged and said, "Nah, we're just the 7 mules."
All 4 of these men would later become coaches. Layden coached at Notre Dame in the 1930s and even went on to become a commissioner in the NFL. Don Miller eventually returned to Ohio, where he was a U.S. district attorney and judge in Cleveland.
I don't think any of them expected the fame that came with that season.
We tracked down Don Miller's grandson, Tim Thompson.
What struck me in talking with him and other members of the Four Horsemen is, they were regular college seniors at the time, right, that enjoyed being together, were certainly playing for a demanding coach and a very innovative coach, were striving for excellence, but they just really were having fun and had an amazing experience their senior season.
An experience that only got better as this team kept winning. These young men in their Catholic school had something to prove. You see, there was another battle being waged in America at this time that brought the KKK to South Bend in the spring of 1924.